guys, welcome to Ayana's DIY corner, where I share with you guys DIYs for your closet, home decor, and I'm going to start dabbling in some landscaping, so look out for that. In today's video, I'm going to answer the call from Angelina from Blueprint DIY, where she refashioned, upcycled the jeans into a sort of asymmetrical skirt. Now in her video she said the sky is the limit, you can do whatever, and she's absolutely right. Now I'm not a fan of the design that she created in her video. Actually I am not a skirt fan but I do need to refashion this jeans, and before you come at me, it needs to be refashioned. Now it may look like it's all put together and fits like a glove, which it does, but there is one major problem. Here's the problem. The crotch. Now as you can see, I have patched this before, and because I patched the areas that started distressing, I started seeing it distressing now away, and I don't want, when I'm wearing this jeans and I'm walking, you know, people seeing the patches. I just find that's a bit off, and I don't like it. So because the jeans is still in good condition everywhere else, I'm just gonna transform it, refashion it, upcycle it into a skirt. So before we get to creating, I just want to give you guys a quick tip. Before you cut for length in this project, what you want to do is put your jeans on and just mark off where you want to cut the jeans. Now I'm just gonna get my piece of chalk. Now here's something you need to keep in mind. Right now my jeans fits comfortably right here at my waist, alright? And from the time I cut the crotch area open so that I'm able to create the skirt, it's gonna give me the ability to go from this fit to a higher fit, which I actually love. So for instance, I'm gonna want to wear my skirt high, and I'm gonna want it about this length here, or probably go right below this distressed area. Now where it stands right now, if I draw a line there and I cut at that length, when I'm ready to pull my skirt up to fit me where I want it to fit, that is going to go from here to about here. And it's no longer going to be a skirt, it's probably only going to be good to be a top probably. So what I would recommend is that you mark and cut off a little longer. So instead of cutting for the length, I'm going to go longer, and I'm going to go right below my knee, and I'm only going to mark. I'm not creating that asymmetrical kind of look. I'm not going for the short curved into the long. It's not really my cup of tea, you know. I mean, I may look good in it, but again, as I said, it's not really my cup of tea. But I am going to create a really nice mini skirt. Now earlier I marked where I would cut from, so I'm going to do that first before I cut open the crotch of the pants, the inner seam of the pants, to get the skirts. Just gonna use that mark and cut. So this is my excess. Now I am going to cut along the seam, and I'm going to cut, let me show you guys. So what I'm going to do is cut right along the seam line. what I like to do is actually go up, right up, and give myself some room to play with. I don't even stop at inch, I give it like a little weak, right. Okay, and I just pull it across to create the coverage that you would need with the skirt. Now the reason why I go all the way up is because normally when you stop a particular way, you get this sort of bulk, right? Now let's just say I didn't and I just stopped there. You realize you get a kind of pucker right here, and to me that looks a bit off. So I always go right up and I stop right where the zipper stitch curves here. I stop right there, and that's it. Now because my skirt fits me perfectly around the waist area, I don't need to do what Angelina did and cut to be able to pull it closer. I don't need to do that. And if your pants fits you well, then you don't need to do that. If it is your pants, you're using a thrifted jeans and it is a little bigger than your actual size because you probably want your skirt to fit you a bit loose and not snug, you're gonna want to use the technique that Angelina used in her video. Excuse the noise you're probably hearing in the back. I have my husband refurbishing an old vanity set that my daughter had in her room and she no longer wants, and instead of destroying it or throwing it away, I have him refurbishing it so I can use it to create a nice beauty corner, and I'm going to do a video with that coming soon, so look out for it. Now that I have everything sorted in this area, before I actually run any stitch, I am going to use my pins. So I'm just going to use my pins and I'm just going to pin this in place, and then I'm going to try it on and see how it looks. I'm going to have to do the same for the back. And I'm actually going to leave all these patches on the skirt actually. I'm not going to do a thing with that. Now with the back, obviously I'm not going to go all the way up. I like to snip up to a certain point and just test it to see if I should go a little higher with it. And I'm just going to go a little way again. There we go. And I'm just going to pull this way. What I'm noticing is that, and I want to cover that little distressed piece, so I'm going to go up again some more so that I'm able, there we go, so that I can at least cover that distressed area. I'm going to do the same thing and I am going to pin. I have cut for length, and the great thing about denim is that you don't ever have to worry that you have to fold in your raw edges. You can actually go ahead and just distress your edges and give it a nice funky look, and that's one of the things that I love about working with denim. Now I just want to give one little tip before I go to the sewing machine and run my stitch to complete my skirts. Now in Angelina's video, she gives you guys the tip of when you are sewing along the seam, to finish off your skirt, create your skirt. There are gonna be areas that the denim or the jeans, the fabric is very bulky, and it's gonna give your sewing machine needle some problems to go into. All right, now what I do instead of, before I finish off and go to my machine and run my stitch, I just want to share something with you guys. Now in Angelina's video, when she's about to create the skirt, finish off the skirt by running her stitch, she lets you guys know that there's gonna be this little peak area here. It's always very bulky. All right, the material, the jeans material is always very bulky, and it gives problems for your sewing machine needle to go through. So she recommends that when you're stitching, when you reach that bulky area, just skip over it and continue along with your stitch, and when you're finished, go back in with needle and thread and just hand stitch that area. Now my take on that is, one, that is too much work. Once I go to my machine, it's supposed to eliminate the whole process of using needle and thread and hand sewing. And the other thing is that the same problem that your sewing machine is getting to go through that bulky area is also going to be a task if you don't have strong needles. And even if you have a strong needle, it's still going to be a little challenge for you to get that needle through the bulky area. So what I do when I'm making skirts out of jeans, instead of going onto the seam itself, what I do is I stitch along the seam edge. And what that will do is, now it's gonna leave this sort of flappy effect. And what I do to kind of eliminate that, or not eliminate it, but give it a more edgy look, is simply distress that little flappy jeans area, and it really does give the jeans a pretty cool look. I just learned to sew along this seam line right there, and I go in again with a double stitch because I know with the flap area I'm actually going to distress it and I want to lock everything in place. So I just go in with a straight stitch, and then I use a very tight sort of zigzag stitch to double that and strengthen the hold on the stitch. And it's the same thing for the back. I go along the seam line, right on the outskirts of that seam line there, so I avoid any thickness of material, especially if I know that my sewing machine is not one of those heavy duty ones. So I'm gonna go to my machine and put my skirts together and show you guys the end results.